baby, fans only.
Does Tim have a fans only?
What the hell? That's not very nice, Jill.
She's just being a grumpy girl. It's Tim!
What's up, guys?
Not much. Just masturbating
So the usual.
and eating sourdough pretzels.
Yum.
So did me unplugging my camera and plugging it back in fix your issue?
Not really. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to Hard Reset, a Cold North production. I'm your host, Patrick the Law Morris. Joining me this week, we have gorgeous Ben Reynolds,
Meow.
the effervescent Andrew Etchen,
Hello.
and making his triumphant return thanks to the coronavirus, the tenacious Tim Miller.
Corona.
By triumphant return, you mean you finally let me out of the basement, so thanks.
No, it was the coronavirus.
Yeah, we threw you down chunks of meat.
Andrew,
Sure,
don't
it was
admit
raw.
guilt.
Delicious.
And Coronas.
So we're gonna get right into things today. We're gonna kind of fly by the seat of our pants because I did not have time to make a doc. Full disclosure.
How dare you?
But there are like 80 people in Finland that listen to this podcast, so I'm sorry, guys. But other than that, no big loss.
Are they finished?
I assume.
Nah,
So-
they're all Russian.
We're going to talk about two big things coming up on Hard Reset. We got specs for both of the next-gen consoles, and we have some E3 news. But before we get to all that, I want to know what you guys have been playing this week. Ben, tell me what you've been playing.
Anything and everything.
Just
But
playing
namely-
itself most of all.
Warzone.
Okay, how do you like Warzone?
It's pretty awesome. I thoroughly enjoy it.
You're I would say of all of us, you're the biggest into the Battle Royale. Do you like it better or worse than Apex?
It's different. Right now, the fact that it's different is appealing to me, and so that I think that's part of why I'm playing a lot more of it. I like that it mixes the speed of Apex with the like kind of more strategic, quicker deaths of PUBG.
Okay. Yeah, it definitely has a lot more layers in my experience. Have you guys played Warzone yet?
No.
Not really, no, but I'm curious. I've just been invested in another game.
It's a lot more dynamic, I would say, than Apex and Fortnite. It's a lot less like straightforward. So
Yeah. Like the doing the missions inside of it is definitely key. And then the gulag obviously is also its own little thing.
yeah.
But yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed what I've played of it. There's a lot more layers as far as like a lot more to do than just survive in a battle royale, which is interesting. There's a lot more like risk reward incentive on a smaller scale. So,
I've gotten second place twice.
I got
That's pretty nice.
fourth place once, and I got a team wipe by flying around in a helicopter and shooting at another helicopter with rockets.
Nice.
So, but yeah, no, I mean, I would definitely recommend trying it out, guys. Like, I would say, download it, give it a try. Maybe you'll love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a free thing. It's definitely worth trying.
Yeah,
And it's got crossplay, and the crossplay Chat even seems to work pretty thoroughly. There, I did have a couple issues with it working last night. It was just being a little spotty, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Tim, you play a decent amount of Fortnite, right?
I did.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
So you, I mean, you've had some experience with battle royales.
I've had my fill of them. I don't think I'll be playing another one anytime soon, personally.
Oh, okay.
Kind of been burnt out on them.
Yeah, sometimes that's how I am. I'm like, they're not like my first choice of game mode, so it's sort of like I have to have nothing left to do for me to want to play that.
Yeah, they're kind of they're without a doubt a very unique experience, and in that like genre, I think Warzone does a really good job of differentiating itself. Not to mention, I think the map in Warzone is really good. One of the best maps that there has been in a battle royale, because the buildings are just so huge compared to other battle royales.
The scale feels nice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But lots to discuss, so we're going to move right along. Andrew, I want you to tell me about Neo 2, but I want you to do it quickly.
Give him a timer.
I only have really one main thing, but been playing Neo 2 and really liking it. When I first started playing it, I got stuck on the very first... I'll say that the second enemy of the very first level for like several deaths. And
is that the one you can just walk right by?
I don't think so. It's like it's in all the trailers and stuff. It's a giant horse demon thing, and it's like the first thing you do is you walk up and there's like a little goblin thing, and you're like, oh, simple. You kill him, he's dead, and then you walk across like around the corner, and bam, you're like sent right into a boss fight. And but still, the game is very, very difficult, but the thing I really like, and I'm not really sure if this was a mode they put into the first one, but they have a mode called Expeditions. So the normal game is more like Dark Souls. You go through a level, you unlock shortcuts, there's shrines that are like bonfires, and if you die, you go back to them. And then you have to go pick up your souls from your dead spot. In that mode, if you die, you go back to your shrine. But then the Expeditions mode is it will automatically look for 2 other people who are trying to do that level, and it'll summon you into a group with them to do it together. When you do that mode, if you die, any of the like XP that you've gained up to that point, you just take back with you. And so it turns the game into more of like a roguelike kind of game instead of you can play that way. But the only downside is if you die in that mode, you have to start the whole level over again. But the upside is you can revive each other, where in the normal mode you can't. So like I've been almost exclusively playing the Expeditions mode, and like I think it's really fun. It makes the game feel kind of like a Dark Souls, Diablo sort of dungeon crawlery game rather than like a really paranoid, careful game.
Huh.
But it's fun. For that reason alone, I would recommend it to people who usually say like those games are too hard.
That is an interesting take. Like it's an interesting spin on a formula of games that, well, they're not for me. So
yeah, like I kept thinking about you specifically because I got to the second level in the game and I was stuck on it for like a whole night and was just like, what the fuck? Like, how is this game so much harder than the first one? And then I finally beat it for some, like, out of luck, like getting summons. And then I realized about the Expeditions mode, and I've been doing that. And whereas the first 2 levels took me, 2 entire days to like 2 entire sit downs to beat, once I started doing the Expeditions, I've just been like blowing through the missions, which is fun because you do those like little missions to get to like the more fun end game ones to get like all the cool stuff. And then it's still just got like a cool story. And when you're doing the Expeditions, you actually like keep getting to see the story rather than dying 45 times to the same fucking enemy.
I have the first one, because I got it when it was free on Plus, but I never played it. When this one is free on Plus, I will play it.
Yeah, it's compared to the first one, I will say it is only better. It's like a
you've
little
sold
harder,
me on the
but
idea of playing it.
only better. It's definitely fun.
So, Tim, what have you been playing this
Yes.
week?
Well, aside from my own shit because I can't go anywhere, I've really only been digging back into my RPGs. I started up Tales of Berseria again, which is really good. I started in on the Phantasy Star Online 2 beta, just to have another MMO under my belt.
Man, I haven't played Phantasy Star in a long time.
It's
Yeah.
so weird that they're finally bringing PSO2 to the West.
To the West after 8 years.
Yeah.
It's a little ridiculous, but it's fun. It works. But yeah, other than that, just been playing Star Fox as normal and hoping that we get into GDQ this year. So,
Nice.
yep.
So, what does it take to get into GDQ?
Basically a unique run that hasn't been seen before and a lot of charisma. So let's hope it works in my favor.
Yeah, no, definitely. Send us the link to your stream when you're streaming.
Yeah, I'll start posting that one.
Jillian and I watch you guys' streams. They're fun. So send it to us.
Send it.
Send it. And are you hoping to do it with Star Fox 1, Star Fox 2, or Star Fox 64?
64.
Gotcha.
64. But a new Star Fox game actually came out 2 days ago.
Really?
What?
Yep. It's a fan-made ROM hack called Star Fox Grounded for the Game Boy, like the original Game Boy. Think of it as
What?
Star Fox Adventure 0.5. It's a turn-based RPG. It is some of the most ridiculous garbage I have ever played, but I laugh every time I play it. So been
Nice.
routing out the speedrun for that, and hopefully we can get that into the awful block this upcoming
And
in
so
the upcoming marathon.
last time I saw you streaming, I saw you marathoning all the Star Fox games.
Yep.
Did that include like the GameCube Star Fox Adventure and Star Fox Assault?
Yep, that is Star Fox 1, Star Fox 2, 64, Adventures, Assault, Command, and Zero.
Wow. How fast can you go through all of those?
Just under 4 hours, 3 hours 55 minutes is what I currently have for a record, and I know I can bring it down by like another 20 minutes.
So that's like
Wow.
5 games in 3.5 hours.
7 games, yeah.
7 games in 3.5 hours. Yikes.
Nope.
All the time is being lost just swapping them out. You just have to have them like
Pretty
ready to
much.
go onto the next.
Yeah, I'm losing like 15, 20 minutes just swapping between consoles. It's kind of annoying. But
Wow.
Not much about that.
Well, next time you're doing that, send me, because I'm not enough of a fan of Star Fox to actually play them myself, but I have always been curious about the GameCube Star Fox games, so I would like to watch someone play those.
You'll get more out of Assault than you will Adventures. I skipped 90% of that game.
Oh,
So, you know.
okay. Nice. Okay, well, personally, I finished Outer Wilds, which we will be discussing on
Oh, did you?
Game Pass Anonymous. Andrew, I'm going to tell you, play it. You will love it.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Ben and I were so pissed at like the bulk of the game to the point Ben quit, and I don't blame him at all. I felt committed to finishing it, and I did. The finale is amazing, but the problem is the like
Getting there
15 hours it takes to get there. The last
Yikes.
30 minutes of the game are incredible. But getting to the last 30 minutes of the game sucks.
Sounds like quite a
Yeah.
slog.
So I finished that. I started A Plague Tale Innocence.
Oh, how you liking that? I like that game.
Really like it so far.
Yeah, that
Really
game
like
is
it.
really,
I'm
really
liking that
good.
a lot.
Yeah,
It's a really good, just like story game.
Yeah.
I'm
and-
only through chapter 4, but
Oh,
It's
nice.
not even through chapter 4. I'm not even that far yet, but it's a very intriguing story.
Yeah. Tim, are you going to be joining us on GPA?
I mean, if I'm going to be locked in my house, might as well.
Might as well, baby. I'm really, really liking that game. I think I'm through chapter 5, and it's gorgeous. And it's a really interesting story. It's clearly very heavily inspired by some other games, but that's totally fine. But yeah, no, I did not enjoy Outer Wilds so much, but I really loved Plague Tale so far. So we'll see where it goes. And also restarted Breath of the Wild. So I am the first several hours into Breath of the Wild again. But we don't have time to dwell. So it's time for the news at now.
The news show. It's the news show. We are now a news show, so we bring you news.
All right. So last week we talked about E3, and I think we ended the podcast last week with me saying, I think that as soon as we hear that E3 is canceled, I will think it is more likely that the consoles are delayed than they hit their holiday window. Literally, the very next morning, E3 was canceled. And so, and then like later in the week, Sony and Microsoft doubled down on holiday 2020. So here I am eating some crow. But E3 2020 has been canceled. I want to know what you guys think this is going to mean for the industry. I want to know what you guys think this is going to mean for E3 on the whole.
Does it feel good on the whole? No.
Does it?
Well, I had heard that China is almost getting ready to ramp their manufacturing back up because they've actually done things to prevent
to get it under control
and control coronavirus. So
I mean, they were kind of ground zero.
They're gonna ship out consoles to a bunch of people who are just sitting in their houses. So that'll probably help them, especially if we start getting free $1,000. Everybody's gonna spend their free $1,000 on
new consoles.
In the next Xboxes.
Yeah. So
yeah.
That's an interesting factor that I hadn't put those two things together yet, Ben. That if the government starts cutting us checks, people are going to buy these consoles, no doubt.
Yeah. My roommate was actually just saying that. He's like, that first month will buy me a PS5.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
I was like, yes, but don't let it distract you from the issue. I like it.
Stay focused on the PS5, dog. So like, people for years, people have been saying E3 is dying. Do you guys think E3 is going to make a comeback after this?
It depends. I know a lot of people, like Nintendo, are probably going to go to an online sort of just show about what they've got coming up. There'll probably be like a whole week of that stuff, kind of like E3 online. If it does as well as they think it's going to, I don't think it will come back. The only thing that's really people are losing out with on that is networking. And yes, that's a big thing.
Networking and then networking and then which is probably a big deal to Pat, but the games media loses out if E3 goes away.
Well,
yeah,
in some respects, certainly, because of that, then they don't have everyone in one place available for interviews and things like that.
Yeah, and I think that it could affect things in a negative way. So Tim, I definitely agree with you that, like, on the surface, like, yeah, we lose the big press conferences. I mean, that's not that big a deal, especially since those can very easily be done online, which Nintendo has already proven. I mean, Nintendo kind of has led the charge. Very strangely, Nintendo has been the one to lead the charge in, like, moving that to an online space, because Nintendo is usually kind of last to the game on online stuff.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that happens at E3 that could be moved online. So, like, game demos. And I'm wondering if E3, Tim, like you were saying, could become just an online event. So, like, and be much more widely accessible, because basically games media goes to E3 and they go and they play a bunch of games. They demo a bunch of games, and that won't, like, do they just make these demos available for games media and send out codes? Or do they make the demos available to everyone, and suddenly E3 becomes a much, much more community-centric online event where we all, like, there are forums and there are online presentations and there are free demos where you can basically play the games that are demoed at E3 and discuss them with everyone.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see which way they take it in that respect. Yeah, like, it's kind of hard to see it making a comeback. I mean, do we know if Gamescom's been canceled yet?
Gamescom has not been canceled yet. It comes about 10 weeks after E3. And so we're still a ways out.
So I could see a lot of companies actually moving their presentations and stuff possibly to that time.
Yeah, that's actually a good theory of, like, do they move out to Gamescom and sub in basically what they were going to announce? Do you think that could possibly cut down on the marketing cycle too much?
That's the one, like, big problem with it. They might not have enough time to get the information out for, like, the holiday season, which is definitely a big issue.
Yeah, definitely. So what would you guys like to see happen from E3? Do you want things next year to kind of just go back to status quo, or do you want, I mean, because we all watch E3, would you guys want to see some radical changes?
There may be radical changes to the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, E3 goes fully online and all the weebs revolt.
Okay.
What are they gonna do?
They're basically made of sand.
So, Ben, what would you want to see?
I would want to see them
More tits.
turn. Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say them turn into the AVN Awards.
AVN Awards.
Adult video.
Oh.
Gotcha. Cool.
Classic.
Thanks for the real answer. Andrew.
Well, I mean, it's essentially it cannot exist because the AV there's never E3 really. I mean, other than for games media, but I guess the one problem with if they send things out if like demos and things, but they could just always invite people to, like, come to the PlayStation place. Everybody come here and we'll have a bunch of demos set up for you to play this day or whatever, and this will be PlayStation Day, and this will be Xbox Day, and this will be Nintendo Day.
That'd be kind of cool. Give people an incentive to go to, like, different days.
Well, so the thing that you lose in that respect, in doing it that way, is by having all of them in the same spot at the same time, you attract a lot more people. And so, you know, yeah. And so, like, at IGN, Ryan McCaffrey is kind of their Xbox guy, right? And if, you know, if Ryan McCaffrey is going to go to E3, or usually goes to E3.
E3 doesn't exist, bud.
Right. Well, I mean, he usually goes to E3 and he ends up seeing PlayStation stuff. But if it becomes a bunch of mini events and everyone doing their own thing, Ryan McCaffrey doesn't see PlayStation stuff because he's going to the Xbox thing. And so you don't get as many eyes. Like, there's not nearly as much cross-contamination, no pun intended, between the fan bases.
But what if they're on different days?
Well, that's the thing, is like, no, someone who's primarily an Xbox fan isn't going to travel for a PlayStation event.
But if they're paid by IGN or whatever too, they will.
But they're not, like, IGN isn't going to send Ryan McCaffrey to go to a PlayStation event.
Corporate espionage, baby.
Because they're going to pay to send their PlayStation guy.
I don't know. What if they want to send them both to both?
Probably won't happen. But I don't know. I'll be interested to see around this time next year where E3 stands and if E3 can bounce back from this.
I'd love to see it again, but it really depends on how big the turnout is for any online stuff that they start doing in the next few months.
Yeah, I mean, if they can save $100,000 not building a booth, not renting a spot on the show floor, and just doing it online, then they will. No doubt.
Show enough.
So yeah, I mean, it's always been a dream of mine to go to E3, so I want E3 to stick around, but that's for selfish reasons. But
you're a selfish person.
So I'm a selfish person, so we're gonna have to wait for another year to see what happens. But
let's just sit down and wait.
In other news.
Oh, I thought we were just going to wait for a year.
We're not going to wait. Live stream this for a year. We're just waiting to find out what happens to E3.
Man, you guys would have live video of me masturbating like a lot.
I think it's the same for all of us.
I'd go in the bathroom to do that.
Ben's like, I'm not going to do that on camera.
Right into the camera and yelling at you guys like, I can't finish unless you look me in the eyes.
Okay.
I haven't seen the light from your eyes.
Logical.
In other news,
that's just logical.
Both Sony and Microsoft kind of pulled back the curtain on the tech specs, which is not how they traditionally have done it, but they shut off a lot on the tech specs of the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. Now, this isn't to say that teraflops are everything.
Teraflops.
But it does appear as though the Xbox Series X is going to be significantly more powerful than the PlayStation 5. The Series X is going to be capable of 12 teraflops. The PlayStation 5 will max out. It'll be variable and it'll max out at 10.2 teraflops. But what I think is more interesting, because that's a bunch of technical mumbo jumbo that we don't really understand. What I think is more interesting is the things, at least the things that are going to affect us, are the things like storage, backwards compatibility, and release window. So we already kind of touched on release window. So let's start with storage. So Microsoft, I don't know if you guys remember, but several weeks ago, there were demo Xbox Series X units released to a few members of the press, and immediately some guy took a picture of the back of his Series X and posted it online when he wasn't supposed to. And there was this slot in the back of the Series X that a lot of people said, oh, well, that's probably just because these are dev kits and that's just a debug port. Turns out that's not true. It is, believe it or not, what is for all intents and purposes a memory card slot.
I hate it.
You don't like it?
Absolutely, I fucking hate it.
Why?
I've had so many GameCube and PlayStation memory cards die on me that it's just
Yeah, where
scary
they
to
like
think.
PlayStation 1 memory cards would die on me all the time.
PS1, PS2, GameCube.
And the thing that
Like,
frustrates
yeah.
me the most is that you know that they're probably it's flash memory inside of the stick. Like, they could easily just use flash memory cards. Like,
Well, so it's an NVMe, and
what's that mean?
I mean it's flash memory, but
Yeah.
the reason, I mean, NVMe is very, very fast flash memory, and the reason that, because Ben, I think that your complaint is one that a lot of people had, and in watching the coverage on it, from what I understand, the reason that they're doing it this way is to make sure that that they have control over the speed of the storage that you're plugging into your Xbox. So they basically don't want the games to run. I mean, the CPU, the GPU, and the storage and the RAM are all essentially created to work in harmony with each other at certain speeds, and if one isn't working at the correct speed, then it causes problems with the whole system. And so if we were to go buy like a cheap, M.2 NVMe drive and plug it into our Xbox, Microsoft would have no way of guaranteeing that it can run at the speeds that are necessary to guarantee performance that they're looking to deliver with the Series X. And so the reason for the proprietary shape is to make sure that that you're using their card so that they know that it's delivering the speeds that are necessary to deliver the performance that they're wanting to provide.
To have.
Do we have a cost on it yet?
There is no cost yet, which is a problem.
Yeah. Is it included?
They're like
with the system?
$100 card.
Like,
So it's,
And they're
to my
5 megabytes
understanding, and they didn't mention like what's going to be in the retail box. It is not included with the system, but there is 1 terabyte solid state built into the system. So it comes with 1 terabyte internal, and then you can buy these cards. And they said the cards are going to be 1 terabyte to begin with. Personally, even 1 terabyte, like 1 terabyte internal, 1 terabyte card, like 2 terabytes for a Series X, I don't think is enough.
probably not.
Yeah. So I would want it. I would want this card to at least be 2 terabytes.
I was thinking more like 4
Two,
personally.
2.5.
Yeah.
872.
I mean, just looking at my Xbox One right now and seeing how many games on it with just 1 terabyte, I only got about 50 games on there. That's like not even half of my library.
Yeah. And so, and then, I mean, you're making an interesting point here, Tim. And like, they also like calmed concerns by saying, only Xbox Series X optimized games need this storage, need this very fast storage. Original Xbox One games, or like Xbox One X games, Xbox 360 games, and original Xbox games can all be played off of an external hard drive that you can just plug into USB. So basically the idea here is you really only use the internal storage and this memory card for Xbox Series X games.
aka Microsoft equals company that says buy stuff, 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 buy stuff from us. Buy stuff, buy stuff, buy stuff, and buy.
Okay,
buy
well
some
we're
more
gonna
stuff.
end Ben's little song. I mean, I'm kind of okay with the idea of these memory cards, especially if they end up releasing like a 5 terabyte.
Oh yeah, but if you want to play Xbox One games or Xbox 360 games, buy a fucking external hard drive. Buy
You don't
stuff, buy
have
stuff,
to.
buy stuff.
That's not what you have to do, Ben.
I don't know.
You can-
That's what you made it sound like.
The one other concern I have with how little memory we have is games that we have in this generation are anywhere from 50 to 100 gigabytes.
Right.
How much more data are they going to have with these enhanced graphics and all this other stuff? Like, how many games am I actually going to be able to fit on that one memory card?
Absolutely. And that's my biggest concern is like 1 terabyte internal, which, just to be ultra transparent, because apparently I wasn't clear enough for Ben, you can install any game on the internal storage or on the memory card. But if you are going to want to play an Xbox Series X optimized game, it has to be on the internal storage or the memory card. It cannot be on an external. Anyways.
Lame. Knuckle draggers.
No, Ben or Tim, I definitely agree with you that like Red Dead is like 110 gigs on Xbox or on Series X or One X. And so like
That's another issue.
that's a tenth. That is another issue. That's a tenth of your storage.
Yeah.
And
Gone
so
immediately.
yeah, you're going to put like 10 games on this thing? Not even 10?
I'd say more like 7 or 8, especially like if you think about the enhanced graphics, you're probably getting up to the 150, 200 gigabyte range per game.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, especially for some of the bigger ones, anyways.
I feel like when games were like 360 games were pretty consistently 10 to 30 gigabytes, if that. And I feel like if a game, like now that games are getting up into the 100, 150 gig range, 1 terabyte is laughably small. And I mean, we run into this problem at the very beginning of every single generation. That the PS4 and the Xbox One launched at 500 gigabytes. Like, when are they going to learn?
Never.
gotta keep
It's always
it-
just a race.
I can see why they're not. They got to keep costs down somehow, and skimping on the storage is one thing because you can always delete and reinstall things. But it's a pain for the consumer
Yeah.
more often than not.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's definitely a cost saving measure, especially with an SSD. And SSDs are expensive. And so like, I mean, Tim, you know, because you have you're in the PC world as well. So like SSDs are really expensive. And so that's one thing that I'm worried about, like a tiny little SSD memory card for 1 terabyte. I'm wondering if Microsoft is just going to take a loss on those.
No idea.
But also, Sony had a presentation earlier today.
That apparently was like wet noodles.
It was a major wet blanket. Did any of you guys watch any of it?
I did not get a chance to.
Ben?
I have not watched it.
I would say you should watch the first few minutes just to get an idea of the tone of it. But it is.
Did they reveal a picture of it?
They did not show the console. They did not show the controller. They didn't show anything but like not graphics like games, like graphics like PowerPoint of like
the hardware.
not even the hardware. They weren't even showing silicon. They were just showing Like they were using like PowerPoint clip art graphics to like illustrate what they were talking about. And it was so fucking boring. He just stood at the mic
Thrown
and
together in a week.
I'm not sure, but it seemed, because it was a long presentation. It was 55 minutes and they really, really went in depth on a lot. But like, it just seemed so tone deaf to what we want to be hearing right now. And it was presented.
Just one of those things that goes in the one ear and out the other, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, like, it was the first major info dump from Sony about the PS5,
and everyone in the world is watching because they're at home.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just so bored.
If you want to give an info dump, give it after you've revealed the console, the controller, given us a flashy presentation of what we want to see, so that all the tech nerds that actually care about that stuff can go and watch it.
And
if
that's
the first thing you're going to give us, I don't even know if I want to watch the next one. Like, if this is what it's going to be, then
100%. And that's exactly what this was like, this was the tech dump that like the nerds would watch, but pretty much no one else. So, and I mean, I'm really into computer hardware, and this was just so fucking boring. I don't know. This just
it sounds
screamed.
like it was like a fifth grade presentation done about a historical moment in time.
Yep, that's
Just
exactly.
like, well, John Mann walked up the hill, and then he put the flag in the hill, and then America.
Andrew, you sound exactly like the presentation. It's
man, I love the War of 1812.
no, it was just extremely boring. It was I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it, but it was
dry.
It was bad. But and I mean it just reeks of Sony hubris coming out of the end of this generation that they have very handily won. So I don't know. I would say you guys should check it out just to see the tone, just to get an idea. Ben, what are you making that face for?
Oh, just Sony screwing up.
Yeah. It was not good.
It's reminiscent of the end of the PS2 era. So
it is. I mean, it's reminiscent
itself once again
of the very beginning of the PS3, of like the days of like get a second job. And it's just like you guys just very obviously are up on a high horse, and it's not working out for you. But I figure Tim is here, and so now it's time for our weekly trivia challenge.
Sunday.
No, it's on
Wednesday.
Okay. All right. The Game Boy Color. There were a lot of games released for the Game Boy, and many of them were not so good, but the very last one was reviewed extremely positively. So, what was the very last game released for the Game Boy Color?
I feel like Tim's gonna know this.
Was it A, Dragon Ball Z Legendary Super Warriors? Was it B, Mickey's Racing Adventure? Was it C, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets? Or was it D, Tomb Raider, Curse of the Sword.
I'll be honest, I don't know this.
I'm gonna go with A, Dragon Ball Z. I just remember having a Dragon Ball Z game on Game Boy and being like, "Damn, this game's fun."
All right.
Maybe that was Game Boy Advance though. No, I redact my answer. I'm gonna go with Mickey's Racing Adventure.
Okay. Andrew, you're going Mickey's Racing Adventure. Final answer?
Sure, yep.
Ben? Tim?
Mickey's Racing Adventure was a early Game Boy Color game. I know that for a fact.
No, I
So it was
redact my
not
answer.
that.
Andrew, you're locked in.
I'm kind of thinking it's the second to last one. What was that again?
Harry Potter and the Chamber of
Harry
Secrets.
Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Like, timing-wise, that sounds right.
Ben's like
I think
drawing the math
I think
in
I'm
his
gonna
head.
lock that. I think I'm gonna lock that in.
Okay,
Chamber
Ben,
of
final
Secrets.
answer. Harry Potter and the Chamber of
Yeah.
Secrets. Tim.
I would kind of with Ben on that one, but just to shake it up, I'm going to go with Tomb Raider.
Tomb
I
Raider,
really have
Curse
no
of the
fucking
Sword.
idea.
Final answer.
Sure, why not?
Well, Ben, you were right about Mickey's Racing Adventure. It was released in 1999.
Oh.
Tim, you were wrong about Tomb Raider, Curse of the Sword.
It
And
was
Ben,
Harry Potter.
you were also right about Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Hell yeah.
It was reviewed ridiculously well, and it was the very last game on the Game Boy Color.
Really? I swear you fucking given the answers to this beforehand.
I mean, I don't, and this one he explained his thought process to us.
Yeah?
Still
I
don't
did.
believe it. I think he Googled it. Let me see your screen, bitch.
All right. Well, that's all we've got for you guys tonight. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a rating and a review on whatever
Just on
podcast
Twitter.
platform you found us on. You can also listen to our other podcast, Game Pass Anonymous, and see everything else we do all in one spot over at coldnorthpro.com. We'll be back next week talking about whatever happens in the next 7 days. Hopefully it's not as packed as the past 7 days. So until then,
Packed with
reset.
masturbation.
Woo! Every hour on the hour, baby.
I don't want to go back in the basement. Don't put me back in there.
The master basement.
Oh no, the
Yeah,
master.
just tug on your wiener till white stuff comes out.
Tug on your pud, boy.
I just go in, I think about Kyle's mom.
The white stuff comes out.